When you mess with the wrong person and put a bounty over their head, only to realize you contributed in creating a sea of corpses, rather than being a man and doing it the old-fashioned way, some villains instead steep to a new low by sending a disabled person with familial ties instead to test the protagonist's conscience. And the French this time around decide to send someone truly special. As your typical, by human standards, man, one doesn't really expect much regarding height, and you're right, as when placed next to the likes of either the perfect organism or a fellow disabled person, Caine doesn't really apply for the basketball team, as he stands at roughly 15 centimeters or 5.9 inches tall. Here's Caine next to Gunpla, Kaijus, Figuarts, Figma, and his fellow friend, Mr. Wick. But moving past the physical limitations that the Asian body is plagued with, Mafex sure did put in the effort when reproducing Donnie Yen's likeness into miniature form, just not Ghidorah good. Closely observing the head, the physical features on the face are all there, from the smooth black hair, widespread forehead, the Asian nose, those skinny cheeks, to the mouth that saw no action, not to mention those slick sunglasses that all combine to depict a man that underneath the simple fragile look hides a particular set of skills. But if those eyewear are a little too funky for you, there is this alternative face with the two functionless organs exposed for the whole world to see. That, while wasn't seen a lot in the movie, was seen in another film where Donnie Yen again played a blind guy. Regardless of the organ's dead-end functions, the eyes are well depicted with a single-colored blue iris that highlights what Caine has ultimately devolved into. But it's better than having no eyes, unlike a certain organism. Looking at Caine's trip, I gotta say it's refreshing to break off from the usual shirt and suit combo, and instead see a turtleneck in his place, as not only helps in portraying Caine's somewhat casual but cool aura, but also functions to conceal Caine's relatively short neck. But besides the inner wear, the suit is more or less identical to those seen on Mr. Wick, from the black, to the exact navy, cloth, wrinkled texture, to the awkwardly exposed butterfly joints. But then again, I would die for a slick suit like that. But something that differentiates Caine from John Wick. Hey John, you know what I have you don't? What? But a key component that differentiates man from beast is the accompanying accessories, and oh did Caine come with a lot of accessories. Firstly, there are the hands. Besides the out-of-the-box hands, perfect for groping. Nice. There are those fists for fisting, holding hands to wield Caine's staff, trigger hands, both trigger-happy and not, to wield Caine's pistol, both trigger-ready alternative trigger hands to wield the dueling pistols, some open hands to semi-wield the already mentioned staff, straight-up open hands to wield the force, and small holding hands just like Mr. Wick to wield the iconic pencil. But Caine, being a blind man, is required by law to carry around a walking staff to be aware of his surroundings. But we know the real reason why Caine actually grabs onto them, as the before mentioned staff comes in 4 separate forms. The first is the run-of-the-mill walking staff that can be used for either helping Caine in his day-to-day lifestyle or knocking down stormtroopers in close range. But if Caine is confronted by further armed and loaded hostiles, Caine is required to unsheath his staff, which depicts when Caine is in the midst of such transition, which beholds displayed that with the elegant shape and artistry involved allows our beloved blind man to easily cut down the likes of death troopers with ease. But when Caine is in a tight spot and requires the aid of tech to overcome his disabilities, there are these 3 motion detectors that, when placed on a surface, acts to notify Caine when hostiles are in his vicinity. But to be honest, they're more or less a waste of additional accessories. But when Caine is faced with either multiple foes or true heavyweights, Caine entrusts the battlefield with his trustworthy 6 Sawyer P365 9mm pistol, and just like Mr. Wick's Pit Viper, the details on the P365 are superb. Just a shame that the paint job isn't as refined as those seen on the Pit Viper. But regardless of the lack of details, the 9mm sidearm transforms Caine from a blind man that can do kung fu to a literal angel of depth that can not only eliminate your average stormtrooper with ease, but even go toe-to-toe with the otherworldly entities from the Baba Yaga to an anime girl with the rules of engagement to those of Batman. But when your daughter is on the line and your boss is Seto Kaiba, Caine is left with no other choice than to act as Kaiba's bullet sponge, in which he wields the Thompson Center Arms Encore dueling pistol that is more or less an identical copy to those seen on Mr. Wick, as portrayed through the wooden stalks and metallic carvings engraved. And speaking of a duel, if you want Caine to go on full-on duel mode, just like John Wick that came with a non-jacket torso, Caine is also accompanied with a turtleneck, only one. So, by removing the head, and below the belt, reattach the mutilated parts onto the turtleneck and the hands, you have Caine when going against his beloved friend in a final duel to the death that brings even a tear to a man like me. But don't think that such firearms will do much against the perfect organism or a fellow disabled on life support. But maybe Caine's most powerful arsenal is none other than the standard pencil that, while at first glance may look non-threatening, when placed in the right hands is a little instrument of death, as not only as the perfect weapon against human threats, but also acts as the perfect defense weapon when Caine wants to keep his chastity and refuses to have children like a Giga Chad. Just a shame his blindness makes him miss. But as a kung fu master, Caine is required to pull off some dynamic movement, and while not perfect, Mafex did put in the effort in trying to replicate such maneuvers. While the head can move down, looking up is almost non-existent, shoulder spreads are limited thanks to the butterfly joints, the arms can move pretty fair, elbows can bend over 90 degrees, round-the-mill hand movement, while the torso can do a stomach crouch. Due to the suit, back movement is limited, but then again, the turtleneck version similarly doesn't fare well. Leg split allows Caine to literally jump the shark. Superb leg movement, knees bend roughly 90 degrees, decent feet movement, and a toe bend. So, regarding my thoughts on Caine over here, Mafex, just like Mr. Wick, was able to pull off the impossible and bring us a miniaturized version of Donnie Yen right into my hands. Such details are highlighted through the screen-accurate face, as seen in the fourth film and Rogue One, the wrist-inducing drift, and a relatively diverse range of movement, allowing Caine to pull off some kung fu. This is not mentioning the abundance in accessories that allows the reproduction of Caine in various situations, even with a useless pair in the mist. With no particular gripe in mind, I would highly recommend Caine over here, especially if you're a John Wick or kung fu fan. In doing so, I'm gonna give Mafex's reproduction of Caine a ranking of an A-.